Hello, friends. I greet you all. Today, we will discuss adding proxies to the software, as well as go through frequently asked questions, and during this video, I will answer them. The questions, accordingly, are related to proxies. The first thing I want to point out is that when working, if you have set the software to take proxies from the settings, the proxies are chosen randomly from the settings. That is, before the account performs an action, a random proxy from the settings is assigned to it, and the account executes the task with that proxy. With each launch, a similar action occurs, whether you are launching a task in some module or checking for bands in the account panel. The software always takes a random proxy from the settings. You can go to the proxy section either from the top by clicking on proxy or from the left menu. Clicking on proxy here is equivalent. Next, proxies are always added in one format: IP, port, username, password, with a colon as the separator. The software does not accept other formats. If your proxies are in a different format, check the sequence of these parameters from the proxies and arrange them correctly. Often, on many proxy provider sites, you can generate proxies in your template and copy them accordingly. If that is not possible, you will have to change it yourself. For example, using Notepad, which is convenient for this, and add it to the software in the correct format there. As a hint here on the format. If you specify a proxy in an incorrect format, when you click the Add Proxy button, they will not be added to the software. Next, we select our protocol, depending on what kind of proxies you have. Most often, it's HTTP, and then we add our proxies in the correct format. That is, specify the IP, then their SA colon, then specify the port, and then again. Instead of an IP, a domain name can be used. That's not crucial. Next comes the proxy username, and then the password. The software does not work with IPv6 proxies, so don't bother putting them into the software. Next, we click Add Proxy. Pay attention to what type of proxies you are adding, and we can check them by clicking the check button. There is also a button to delete all proxies, which removes all the proxies you have here. If you've added many proxies, check them. You can delete only the bad ones. The software provides information about the proxy, such as its response time. It often happens that when checking, a proxy shows red. But if you are confident that you entered the correct proxy data and it is valid and working, try again a couple of times. There is no need to click check repeatedly. There's also a check here. You see it's read. We click again. The software checks. It will give a result again. If it's been literally 10 to 15 seconds and the status remains the same, click check again, especially if you have rotating proxies, since changing IPs may cause you to catch a rotation or the proxies may not be very stable at that moment. Keep these points in mind, and just because a proxy shows red doesn't always mean it is, and if, for example, they are often red or consistently so, contact your proxy provider. As you can see, the proxy is green. If your proxies are red, try working with them. They might just be unstable at the moment of checking, which is why they show that way. Next, on some proxies by default access to Telegram is closed, meaning you can check the proxies. They may show green, but when working through these proxies, you will encounter a connection error. In that case, contact the proxy provider from whom you obtained these proxies and clarify this with support, asking if access to Telegram is open on these proxies. If it's closed, They should open it so you can work with accounts through these proxies. Or try other proxies, test them out. Regarding proxies for use, I recommend everyone to visit the BLB Team Forum, our forum, and read the articles about proxies. There's quite a lot of information there. 2 to 3 full-length articles about proxies, what types there are, what rotation means, and so on. So, most often, rotation is used on the proxy side, meaning the data from the proxy remains the same, but the final IP address is different, and it changes depending on the time or for every request. I recommend studying this information, and the second point is that proxies are a personal matter for everyone. It's not customary to share or disclose them. There are reasons for this, and the reasons are that no one likes to expose their proxies, especially for registration, because many proxies rarely update, get spammed, and there are other reasons as well. Therefore, you choose proxies for yourself based on tests, based on trial and error. In the software, there are partners, including proxies. But partners are not recommendations for action, meaning it's not mandatory to use them. And you don't necessarily have to rush to use them thinking everything will be 100% okay. There are many nuances and details that you will pay attention to with experience. You can start with these proxies, try them out, look into it, and after studying the information, test them. Next, in our Messenger sphere, which is available only to those who have purchased a license for the Telegram Expert software, there is a chat, and in this chat, there's a search feature. You can type in the word proxy and read through it. A list of proxies has been posted there multiple times. The link, specifically, to the list of proxies from which you can also start testing. The main task is to learn to understand how to work through proxies. You need to first study the basic information, as I already mentioned on the forum. If you can't find something, turn to Google. So, read, study, and then proceed to tests. Many proxies offer a free trial period, and many proxies have a minimum traffic volume for using these proxies that you can take for testing. This means that finding the right proxy for yourself won't take too much time, money, or effort. Study the basic information, determine what proxies you need, whether you need rotation or not, and what you want to do. Once you've learned and started testing, you'll analyze based on the tests and draw conclusions. You've read the information, and so on. The main thing to remember is that proxies are a personal matter for everyone, and it's not customary to share them. So, study the information, then move on to testing. Select for yourself, try, test, and remember the correct format for adding proxies to the software. And one more thing, if your settings indicate to take proxies from the settings, as I mentioned at the very beginning of the video, the proxies are used randomly from the settings. But if you want your accounts to work on a specific proxy, in that case, the proxies should be stable so they don't drop out. For that, you can allocate them in the account panel. For example, the accounts to which you want to assign proxies. If you select several here, click on Select Action, then Add Proxy. Here, you specify the proxies you want to link to these accounts. There's also this point to consider. Keep in mind that the proxies will be linked randomly. If you specify, for example, 3 proxies and select several accounts in this case, then all these proxies will be distributed randomly among the accounts and linked to them. After that, once you've linked the proxies, they are bound to you. You go to Settings and enable the option to take proxies from the account. In this case, just don't forget to save the settings after making changes. In this case, the accounts in operation will use the proxies linked to them. And if, for example, the account does not have a proxy, like, say, we reset it, and in the settings, we have specified to take proxies from the account, and you start the account without a proxy, then in that case, the software will still randomly take a proxy for that account from the settings. Because a common question arises about which proxies need to be linked for certain geo countries. Then you select, for example, accounts from a specific country because there is also a search and filter available here. You can filter them like this, for example. You choose accounts from a specific country, select the action, and link the proxies to them. Then, for example, for another geo, you select and also link proxies for that country. But another important point is that it is recommended to work with proxies from the same geo as the accounts. If you have accounts from England, it is recommended to work with proxies from England for those accounts. In practice, everything is individual and tested, meaning many work with mixed proxies from different geos with different geo accounts, and problems do not arise. It all depends on the accounts and the quality of the proxies. So you also determine these points for yourself when testing. Basically, the foundations are there. I've shown you everything. I demonstrated how to add them. Study the information, try and test it. And one more small point, if, for example, you added a lot of proxies here, all of them are stored in the software folder. Let's go to the software folder. We enter the settings folder, and here is the proxy file. If you delete it and restart the software will re-download this file. But you won't have any proxies here. Sometimes people ask when they've added a lot of proxies, several hundreds or thousands, and, for example, the system couldn't handle it. Your system couldn't cope with it. Just close the software, delete that file, restart the software, and the file will reappear. The proxies will be reset, and you can add some new proxies again. So study the information, test it, try it. Good luck to you. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, everyone.